Thanks to the Ampere Dusk for sponsoring a portion of this video. The reviews of the Apple Watch Ultra have been incredible. We have seen creators do this, and this, pushing the ultraness of the watch. I'm gonna be honest with you, I am not that. I am not climbing Mount Everest. I did take a swim in a pool, and I saw some depth stuff happen on the watch, but that's about as extreme as I got. I did play tennis once, so I got to see it, track that. I'm so not extreme that the action button on my watch calls my wife. So, if you are the average man, like me, I've got a review for you of the Apple Watch Ultra. And beyond all of that, I have a baby wrist. So, if any of those things fit your lifestyle and you want to know how the watch is going to look on your wrist, but also just work as a normal Apple Watch, stick around. So, I, probably like a lot of you, were hesitant about the design of the watch. Again, baby wrist. Not so much because of the looks, but because of the size. This is a big boy watch, and I was scared it was going to feel like just a gigantic computer on my wrist. And after wearing it now for almost 2 months, all of my hesitations turned out to be very unfounded. To me, when you look at the pictures of these things, you're like, that's a chunky boy, that thing's gotta weigh pounds. It actually, on my wrist, doesn't feel any different than the Series 7 or 6 or anything that came before it. It is incredibly light. That was a very jarring experience putting it on and be like, oh, that doesn't feel weird at all. It also, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but doesn't look ridiculous on my teeny tiny wrist. In fact, I think it looks a little bit big, not comically big, which was really my worry here. So if you have concerns about the size of the watch, I think most of those will be unfounded. The biggest reason that I was excited about this watch is clearly not the action features, it was battery life. I talked about it in my Series 7 review, but my battery life was atrocious. By the time I traded that in, I had mid-80s battery health. I don't know if I did something wrong to the watch or I just got a bad one, but battery life was not a day for me with the Apple Series 7. So in the Ultra, and they're promising 2-day plus battery life, that's what sold me. The irony was not lost on me that Apple perhaps created a problem and sold me a solution. I think in maybe typical Apple fashion. But I've enjoyed the battery life, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But back to sort of the design and the size. I know the size is not going to work for everyone. If I have a baby wrist, if you have a newborn baby wrist, it might be something that you can't wear realistically. That does make me wish Apple somehow to make the watch in 2 sizes. I imagine because of battery size, they couldn't and didn't. This is all we've got. I'd say try it on, and if it fits you, you are good to go. Now, feeling aside, design to watch something that I think turned out to be totally fine. It's certainly sort of on the rugged side, but the orange accents make it feel like it's made for an adventurer, which it kind of is, which made me feel like an adventurer, which, was nice when I adventured out to the grocery store, when I adventured into a swimming pool, when I adventured onto a tennis court. Outside of that was the extent of my adventuring, but I felt like I could climb Everest. I felt like I could dive 200 feet underwater. I didn't, but feeling like I could, it was part of the battle. I do also like the protection they gave on the buttons on the crowns. I got kids, my watch is always hitting on things. Sometimes my kids are hitting stuff on the watch, so I've liked that bumper there, but I don't know, it's just a design thing. It looks different. And I guess when you have watches that look the same for many, many years, different matters. Again, Apple's selling you a solution to the problem they created. One area that I haven't noticed much, though, is the larger screen, or at least it hasn't changed what I do with the watch. In fact, I'm using the exact same home screen watch face setup that I used on the Series 7. I haven't bothered to use the exclusive watch face here at the Ultra. The night mode stuff there doesn't really impact anything for me. It's fine. Some things that do stand out, though, with the watch, it is much easier, drastically easier to see outside. The 2000 nit brightness is very noticeable and helpful. I wouldn't say I had a hard time seeing older Apple Watches, but if you were, you will love the brightness of this new screen. So something else that's gonna help you see outside is actually this video's sponsor. These guys are Dusk by Ampere. And you might think to yourself, how can I look as good as John does right now. But these things actually do a lot more than just look good. They're actually electrochromatic lenses, which means you can change the tint from either buttons underneath or through the app. So I can go from like this, pretty good, sunglasses, if I want to lighten it up, to this, to that. It's really cool. I mean, you can change what the glasses do. So you can have sunglasses, regular glasses, glasses that are blocking out certain kinds of light, all with one pair of frames. Not to mention there's speakers built in. These things work absolutely awesomely. They look good. They're super light. They do exactly what you would expect them to do. They actually have audio built into. You listen to podcasts, books, or music. They're really light. There's a charging case, which is, it's not the smallest charging case in the world, but they work as advertised. If you want to check out Dust by Ampere for yourself, you can actually save 20% with code John20, but I'll put the link and the info in the description down below. So when Apple was pushing the Ultra, I mean, it was the Ultra features, it was adventure, it was diving, it was battery life. They talked a little bit about the speaker, but not much. That has been like the most surprising thing about the watch, was how good and how loud the speaker is. I've actually taken a lot of phone calls on my watch. I try not to be that guy that's like on a speaker call out in public, but if I'm, again, the adventure guy sitting on my couch, I don't want to reach too far from my phone because the snacks are resting on my tummy, it's nice to be able to just answer phone calls and actually have them sound really good and very clear. If you take a lot of calls from your watch, or you want to take a lot of calls from your watch, the Ultra is amazing at that. I imagine though, if you were like climbing Everest, you know, and you want to take a phone call, because I don't know, imagine they have cell service there, it's going to sound great on your Apple Watch Ultra. So back to the biggest reason that I wanted to get the watch was battery. Like I said earlier, life on my Series 7, whether it was from me or the bad watch, it was trash. And it got to be trash very quickly. I don't know how battery life, battery health degraded that quickly, but it did. So Apple said the Ultra would have multi-day battery life. That was it. I was in. You sold me. Again, creating a solution to their problem. That was the reason that I wanted this watch. And it has delivered in the battery life promise. I took my wife out for a night. It was a big deal for us. Got away from the kids. For the first time traveling, I had to bring an Apple Watch charger. That was awesome to have. By the time I charged it the next day, I still had like 25% battery life left. Haven't even tried any of the low power stuff that's on here, including the new low power mode. This is easily a 2-day watch with you doing nothing to optimize battery life, and more if you want to do things to optimize battery life. If your battery life sucks on your Apple Watch and you're just like, I'm sick of charging it, Ultra is 100% the way to go, just for that alone. There's a lot more to the Apple Watch Ultra. Like I said up front, I'm treating this just like a regular Apple Watch with better features. And for those users, they hit it out of the park. Again, I'd be lying if I tested this thing running a marathon, took it underwater, any of those things. I just don't use my Apple Watch that way. Maybe I'm just more sedentary. But there are some people that do, and I think for those people, this is going to be a gigantic upgrade for them. So that leaves the question whether or not this is worth $800. On one hand, that's a lot of money for what is mostly an accessory for most people. On the other hand, for as many features and upgrades as you get, I think it's actually very reasonably priced. And I'll say this, if you're in the market for a new Apple Watch and you were considering upgrading from the basic aluminum to a stainless steel, the Ultra is absolutely worth it. The extra features you get make the experience overall just better. It's not perfect, but it's my favorite Apple Watch that I've ever had. And I think it's my favorite Apple product of the last few years. It solves problems that existed, it adds new features, it looks different. I love the Apple Watch Ultra, and I think what Marquez said in his review, that they offered a black color, it would probably slim it down and maybe give it a different look. I agree with that. If you like sort of the utilitarian look of the Apple Watch, or you want to do some adventuring, or you just want better battery life, and you're willing to spend the money, you will love the Apple Watch Ultra.